Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. We're back then with issue 35 and we're continuing with our lore articles. So we've got a little bit about the Chaos Renegades with a lot of focus on the Red Corsairs. We look at the different armory weapons of the Damned. And we have a short story to read focusing on the Aeldari versus the Orcs. And then we get to name our Havocs squad, which will be quite a fun little article. So I'm going to go back to one of the earlier issues in order to get our naming charts out. So as we got some nice bits of information to read, let's head straight to the table. But before we do, don't forget to do all the usual. Liking this video, subscribing to the channel and dropping me a comment down below helps get this channel noticed and lets me know what you guys want in the future. I love hearing back from you guys about how you're getting on with your own personal hobby. It's always nice to know what other people are up to. If you have any hobby questions, drop them a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer them with either a video or just a reply. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warband.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need from models, to paints, to dice, to all your little accessories to decorate your bags with as well. So, head to their website or head down to their physical store where you can check out these items in person, and who knows, you might find your next hobby project at a bit of a discount. Right, let's head to the table and read our latest lore articles before we name our Havoc squad. Here we are then, back with issue 35, and I've got my Havocs fully built. So here we have our las cannon dude, looking pretty good, stepping forward, taking a shot with his massive anti-tank gun. We've got the heavy bolter guy standing ready, bracing himself as he pops the enemy full of bolter shells. We've got the rather menacing missile launcher guy holding a spare load ready to put into his launcher. He's sort of at ease, picking out his next target. And finally, the aspiring champion with his chainsword and plasma gun, just looking very menacing and boss-like. So yeah, there we go. Right, we are now ready to move on with our lore sections, and we've got a few pages to go through. So let's adjust the camera, and we can dive right on in. So here we go. A bit too far. There we are. First page. I have had a little bit of an accident. I spilt my glue on that page while I was building my last model, didn't realise it, so I've got a little bit of a damaged page. It's not too bad though. So our first article then looks at Chaos Renegades. Chaos Space Marine Renegades fall on their former brethren in a furious attack. The first Chaos Space Marines were those who turned traitor during the Horus Heresy, when the Imperium was divided and the great legions warred against each other. Although the original traitors remain the most numerous, Space Marines are still turning to this day, and those new converts to Chaos are called Renegades. The events of the Horus Heresy have shaped the Imperium for the last 10,000 years, and the High Lords who rule in the Emperor's name are rightfully wary of their ancient enemy, the Traitor Legions. But perhaps more disturbing than the fall of many Space Marines long ago is the present fall of those who were thought to be loyal. Although rare, Space Marines, the angels of the Emperor and heroes of mankind, have been known to turn their back on their sacred duty and cast their lot in with the traitors of the Chaos Space Marines. It seems that none are safe from the beguiling whispers of the Dark Gods, so many chapters may lose some of or all of its Space Marines to the corruption of Chaos. It is rumoured that even some of the Dark Angels, one of the most venerable and revered chapters, have lost some of their number to the ruinous powers. When Space Marines turn traitor, not only does the Imperium gain a new enemy, but they lose vital intelligence along with equipment and supplies that will now be used against them. Red Corsairs. Originally, the Red Corsairs were former Astral Claws Space Marines who fell to Chaos. However, the name is so widely known that many other traitors and renegades have sought them out and joined their number. Now they act as reavers and pirates, mounting rapid assaults and raids utilizing teleport strikes, armored craft, and boarding actions. All shall fall before us. Huron Blackheart. When Luft Huron, the respected chapter master of the Astral Claws, turned traitor, he took the name Huron Blackheart and led his fellow renegades into the Badab War. Grievously wounded in the conflict, his body was reconstructed with bionics. He now leads a growing army of warriors. So famed is his reputation that he was gifted a Blackstone fortress by Abaddon himself. This ancient and immensely powerful battle station dwarfs many naval fleets and armies in its potency. So we have our first look at some of the traitor warbands, and yeah, we start with the most well-known and one of my favourites, the Red Corsairs. I love their sort of haphazard red and black colour scheme. Each model panels are varied in what colour they're painted, much like the Emperor's Children with their black and pink. Yeah, really cool army, and yeah, I would definitely like this. Maybe at one point collect an army of these guys, but I'm still doing my Black Legion for the moment, and it wouldn't be too hard to go from Black Legion into these guys, as they all share a sort of base colour scheme. I just need to paint some shoulder pad rims black, some armor panels red. Yeah, you definitely need the darker corn red, I think, to make those guys look really awesome. Moving on, we take a look at the armory of the Damned, so the weapons of Chaos. The forces of the Chaos Space Marines are among the most deadly in the galaxy. Not only are they former Space Marines, genetically enhanced elite warriors, but when they left the Imperium they took with them their wargear and weapons, which they have since turned to the destruction of all that they once believed in. Warped by Chaos. Most of the weapons of the Chaos Space Marines are from 10,000 years ago, when many legionaries turned their backs on the Imperium and the Emperor. Over time, these devices have been subject to the strange energies of the warp and have twisted and mutated into new and terrifying forms. Power Armor. The power armor of the Chaos Space Marines offers them enhanced strength and repels many attacks. It is replete with vile runes, twisted icons, bearing witness to the corruption within. Heavy weapons. The armies of the Chaos Space Marines rely on a range of heavy weapons, from shoulder-mounted rocket launchers to vehicle-mounted cannons that are fit to deal with even the toughest enemies. Jump packs. Some specialist units use jump packs to leap huge distances into the air and across the battlefield. These are used as shock troops to engage in rapid attacks and to assault vital positions. Terminator armor. Terminators take to the field clad in some of the strongest armor that has ever been developed. Safe inside its shell, the Chaos Space Marine can withstand near endless enemy fire as they mount line-breaking assaults on the foe. Obliterators. Obliterators are mutated and augmented Chaos Space Marines who are as much demon-possessed machine as they are man. They specialize in surprise attacks, stepping out suddenly from warp fissures, changing their forms to take up the best firing positions, and sweeping the enemy away with a storm of warp-tainted fire. Hellbrute. A Hellbrute is a nightmarish blend of flesh and steel. Trapped within its confines are the remnants of a Chaos Space Marine who is kept in perpetual agony. What is left of his ravaged mind controls the lurching gait and powerful weaponry of the machine as it is turned loose on the enemy to rend and blast them with abandon. Land Raiders. Land Raiders are huge armoured vehicles capable of carrying Chaos Space Marines safely into the heart of battle. Land Raiders are also formidable weapons in themselves. Highly mobile and armed to the teeth with cannons and bolt guns ready to mow down anyone in their path. The Land Raiders used by the Chaos Space Marines are often thousands of years old and have been much modified by their crews and twisted into new forms by demonic energy and the power of the warp. So if we go back over the page, we see mix of some of the different types of armour Chaos Space Marines use. So your basic power armour, heavy weapons there, the jump packs where you see a Night Lord Warp Talon there, and of course the ancient Baroque patterns of Terminator armour there as well. And we've got a Hellbrute there, so sort of like a Space Marine Dreadnought. It's more demonic than it is a life support system as a regular Space Marine Dreadnought is. And we'll be getting one of these very soon. This is the old Dark Vengeance 6th edition starter set, monopose one. And yeah, the multi-part one isn't much better. It's kind of very squat and not as imposing as you'd expect it to be. Obliterators, as I said in the unboxing, they take a lot of their cues now from the Centurion warsuits, but still have those chaos warping guns that come out from everywhere. So you've got like a twin melter there, heavy bolter, plasma cannon, twin bolt guns there. So yeah, really awesome models. Yeah, pity that you only get them in like a monopose set. It would be nice if they did proper plastic kits of them. That could also be assembled as mutilators, which was a close combat version. And we see the humble Land Raider with chaos tainted gargoyles, icons, trophy racks, etc. So yeah, looking pretty good. We need to get some of these for my own armies at some point, but they are really expensive to get hold of, even brand new, when they're not even out of stock, which is common. But yeah, there we have it. Let's move on. We have a read article, which is a nice short story. And then we have our naming article to go through. So this is the short story, Waaagh! Yandra looked out over the plain before him as the legions of ghost warriors strode forward. As unnatural as they were uniform, each squad marched in perfect synchronization over the blue-tinted dust, never wavering or faltering. The spirit seers marched with them, guiding them forward over the barren land. Yandra turned to the Autarch who stood alongside him. Mirnef, the site where the Guardians fell, it is still occupied by the enemy. Mirnef looked back, her face unreadable, but the faintest note of surprise showed in her voice. Still? Are they guarding the spirit stones, perhaps? No, answered Yandra. They would break them for sport if they had the faintest idea of what they meant to us. But they do not have the art to make any use of them. Brutes! Snorted Mirnef. Yandra smiled grimly. Do not underestimate them, he cautioned. They are brutes, but here they are in their element. We are not. We must survive against the cruelty of fate, whereas they must only fight. They will serve out their purpose today. Are you sure that we will? We have no choice, came the reply, and Yandra nodded. Indeed we do not. Shall we get this over with? The spirit hosts are almost at the brow now, remarked Mirnef, and the pair started forward. As they came towards the rise, Yandra could see wisps of smoke rising from the dip on the other side. As he crested the brow of the hill, his heart sank. The smoke wasn't from a small patrol, but from a small encampment. Arrayed in front of him were many times more orcs than he had planned for, each of them a green, tusked mouth, dim-witted killing machine. At once the horde leapt into action, not, as far as Yandra could tell, as a result of martial leadership and coordination, but through the promise of combat arriving in the mind of each orc simultaneously. Contraptions and machines lurched into action with the rattles and bangs. Vehicles coughed out huge belches of smoke, and each orc in the horde turned to face the newcomers with a cacophony of clanking and banging. Above the whole din, the voices of the orcs united in a single harrowing cry. Waaagh! As the horde threw itself forward, artillery roared into action, sending up a cloud of debris into the sky. The orcs at the front of the horde raised their weapons and sent shots whizzing over the heads of the Aeldari. The orcs at the back decided to join in too, sending a scatter of shots forward, half of which zipped over the heads of Nearly overwhelmed, the Wraith constructs fight back the endless tide of Orc warriors. The Aeldari, and half of which hit the front rank of the Orcs clean in the back. The Aeldari returned fire, expertly mowing down the closest Orcs. Yandra barely had time to wonder at the Orcs' lack of coordination, for the debris from the artillery fell thick and fast. With a crunch and a thud, scrap metal landed amid the Aeldari troops. A barrel spewing toxic sludge wheeled above them, spraying its contents all over. Yandra peered forward, and now that the horde had advanced, he could see a pile of Aeldari bodies in the middle of the Orc encampment. "There they are," he called. Mianef stared over. "Just as you said. It is well that we didn't send the Crimson Hunters in ahead of us to obliterate the whole site." The Orcs' chanting and yelling intensified as, despite the barrage from the Aeldari, they started to reach the top of the rise. "It is well indeed, but I fear we have overcommitted ourselves," said Yandra. Mianef grabbed his arm. "If you can hold them here, I can circle around behind them and collect the spirit stones." Yandra looked doubtful. "We cannot take them in the open like this. At best we can hold them a while. I will not need much time. Some will die. I mourn for them already," Yandra sighed. "Then be quick," he said, "and there will be fewer to mourn." Mianef nodded and slipped away, and Yandra joined the fight alongside the spirit hosts. Suddenly Yandra saw a huge Orc detaching from the back of the horde and bearing down on the camp, firing a spray of deadly bullets towards Mianef. The spray hit her straight in the leg, and she stumbled. With a cry, Yandra thrust his arm out, directing one of the spirit seers to the Orc. The spirit seer and the Wraith warriors under their charge turned to fire on the lone Orc, and it fell in a hail of shuriken fire. But that moment was all that the rest of the Orcs needed, and while the Wraith warriors were busy, the Orcs pushed up the slope and finally made contact with the Aeldari. Drawing huge spiked clubs and heavy blades, praying that they would arrive in time, Yandra sent out a psychic message demanding immediate support and turned back to the battle. It seemed to Yandra that each moment another Aeldari fell, and the brutality of the Orcs in close combat threatened to overwhelm their position. But then, just as Mianef limped back to Yandra's side triumphantly, clutching the lost spirit stones, a Crimson Hunter screamed overhead and with a single strafe vaporized almost the whole line of artillery. Yandra's heart leapt, but then a grating whir filled the air, and like a cloud of midges, a squadron of ramshackle Orc fighters descended from the clouds, and the Crimson Hunter shot off with the Orcs in hot pursuit. As Yandra followed the dogfight, his eyes were caught by a figure on the horizon, and his blood ran cold. They were not prepared for this, and he watched. A colossal mechanical figure lurched into view, the earth shaking beneath its giant steel feet, and the huge machine guns on its shoulders rattled into action. Mianef caught his eye. "This might be a longer day than I thought," she said. And I think us veteran 40k players will know what that is. But yeah, there we have it. A nice short story. Maybe the one done, but hopefully not. It would be nice to see if we have more from this. Left on a bit of a cliffhanger, so yeah, it would be nice if we had a bit more to go on. But we got a little bit left before we go on to our naming articles. So we have the Orc Menace. Orcs are a brutal and warlike species who love nothing more than a good war. They are relentlessly tough, tenacious, and inventive, always striving for better and louder fights. They prize destructive power over grace, strength over intelligence, and cunning over honor. Each individual Orc is a natural and enthusiastic warrior, driven by lust for war and intense violent impulses. They are outstandingly strong, tough, and resistant to pain. So much so that Orcs have been known to happily fight on even having lost limbs or sustained other grievous injuries moments before. So yeah, first look into the Orcs, which will be our next combat patrol, I believe. So hopefully we'll be able to see this fight in action ourselves. Moving on, we need to grab issue 33, a dice and a pen, as it's time for us to name our Havocs. So we'll open up the naming table and we'll roll to get the name for our Havoc squad. Right, here we go. Bit of paper underneath just to protect against bleed from the pages, and we're ready to go. Havocs. Havocs are the heavy fire support of the Chaos Space Marines. As they stride onto the battlefield, the air is filled with the rattling of bolters, the roar of rockets, as a volley of fatal fire is sent towards the enemy. Few can withstand the might of their onslaught, and even the toughest foes fall before them. So we'll find out the leader's name. We get a 1 followed by, let's hope it's a good one. That's off camera, so I'll roll again. Oop, that's cocked. Come on, 3. Hannibal. Okay, that's kind of cool. And his unit epithet. We've got a 5, followed by a 6. Oathbreakers. Okay. And what's their background? We got a 2, so these Havocs keep on relentlessly firing their weapons, even as they overheat, burning their hands inside their ceramite armor. Pretty cool. I think then epithet, the Oathbreakers, maybe echoes of their past. Perhaps they used to belong to a different legion and have broken their oaths to that legion and have joined the forces of Abaddon. So yeah, pretty cool. Right, we can take off their build as we've built them all, but we haven't done anything else with these guys yet. But the last thing to do then is to check out their datasheet. So this is a datasheet for your Chaos Space Marine Combat Patrol. The datasheet contains all of the information needed to use your Havocs in your games of Combat Patrol. File this datasheet away safely so it's ready to use in games and scenarios in this and future issues. So we have movement of 5, so they're pretty slow due to their heavy weapons. Toughness of 5, they're more durable than regular Space Marines due to the extra thick armor plates and the bulky guns they carry. They have a 3+ save, have 2 wounds each, 6+ leadership, and objective control of 1. So we've got a variety of ranged weapons. So we've got a missile launcher guy here, so we can have either Havoc missile launcher frag, which is a blast weapon, 48-inch range, d6 shots, hits on a 3+, strength of 4, no AP but 1 damage. Or you can fire his Havoc missile launcher as a crack shot, which is 48 inches, single attack, hits on a 3+, strength of 9, -2 AP and d6 damage, so nice tank busting round there. Then we have the Reaper chain cannon, so the Havoc Reaper chain cannon is 24 inches, 8 attacks, hits on a 3+, strength 5, AP 0 and 1 damage. So kind of like the Space Marines assault cannon, but a little bit more shootier. Then we have the Heavy Bolter, so the Havoc Heavy Bolter has sustained hits 1, much like the Legionnaires one. It's 36-inch range, 3 attacks, ballistic skill 3+, so unlike the other one, which is a 4+. So a little bit better hitting at least. Strength of 5, -1 AP, and 2 damage. And I can check it out, I've got the data sheet for the Space Marine Legionnaires here. And yeah, their Heavy Bolter also has the heavy keyword, which is interesting. So whether they're missing the heavy keyword from this or what, we don't know. But yeah. Finally then, we have the las cannon here. So a Havoc las cannon, 48-inch range, 1 attack, 3+ to hit, strength 12, AP -3, d6 + 1 damage. And then we have the plasma gun from the Sergeant, which is the same as any plasma gun we've seen before. Which I don't think we've actually seen a plasma gun before yet. So standard shot is rapid fire 1, 24-inch range, single attack, 3+, strength 7, -2, 1 damage. Or you can overheat or supercharge, in which case you gain the hazardous rule, Still rapid fire, 24-inch range, 1 attack, 3+, strength 8, -3 AP and 2 damage. You have the chainsword on the sergeant, which we know about before, and close combat weapons on the rest of them. So 5 attacks on the chainsword and 3 on the regular close combat weapons. So they're not exactly a slouch in combat, which is pretty cool. Faction abilities, they have Dark Pacts, belong to the Heretic Astartes faction, and have the Infantry, Chaos and Havocs keywords. So there we go, that's it for this video. So bring the models back in. And there we go, that's our latest lore for this issue. Up next, we've got our game, whichever I decide to do. I haven't quite yet decided, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. But yeah, we've got our Havocs built, Havocs named, and we've learned a little bit more new lore. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section down below. What have you named your Havocs if you've been using the naming charts? And I hope these guys will bring you great victory in your games in the future. I can't wait to try them out for myself in the next issue. So all that's left for me to do then is to say thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time on more Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.